Hi, everybody. This is Todd Krieger, and today I am absolutely doing my last for a while um, talk on making decisions. The theme has been making decisions as part of a couple, and I've covered how you could use conflict even to make a relationship better. Today, I'm going to talk about how do you make difficult decisions when you're conflicted, whether it's you're conflicted inside of yourself, but also how do you make the right decision when you and your partner are not on the same page. So we're going to explore a few strategies for facing tough choices, and especially when the couple feels torn uh, between different options. Okay, so one of the things that happen in life is things come up, and we have to make tough decisions. Sometimes a couple, they both are ambivalent about something. Sometimes one person really feels strongly about one doing A, and the other one wants to do B. One wants to turn left, and one wants to turn right. One wants to stay where they are. The other one wants to move. I'm dealing with a bunch of situations where some of the challenges they have is when they have really big decisions to make, such as that. How do you make those decisions? And how do you know what's right for you? Because the conflict inside of us, the conflict with our partner, are similar oftentimes that it's not oftentimes unanimous. There's a conflict. So what do you do? Obviously, we need to gather information. We need to be able to do people call the pros and con list, right? Pros and cons. What are the reasons to do this thing? The pros, and what are things not to do these things? The cons. And so we could use our logical brain and look at that. We might have five pros and two cons. Oh, maybe that means we should go for it. If we have five cons and two pros, maybe we don't go for it. So we all, the thing about it is that uh, it's always about our values. And oftentimes inside of us, we have conflicting values. And sometimes between us as a couple, we have conflicting values. So, in terms of just being aware, like, okay, what are those values? What are those values that compete? So, just looking at a person individually, let's say a person says, yeah, I want to move because I just got an offer and I'm going to make more money, and I value making money. I value being able to provide for my family. But here we have this great social network, and we have more family members around here. Maybe we don't have any families over there, but we can make more money, right? So there's a value of family, there's a value of social networking on one end, but on the other, there's the potential, well, the actual, not potential, but you've been offered to make more money. I have one person that uh, she was offered to work for a family member, and she would get a very substantive raise. However, she does something now that she's passionate about. She's in charge of this business that does things that um, she loves it, but she'd be making less. And also, if she were to go where she could be making more, she'd be around family, more family, a lot more family. So that was the value of doing what she loves and that she's passionate about, that she's really good at, and but also there's the other values. So family and making more money. So it's an individual thing when we're talking about one person trying to make a decision. And I'll give you some strategies of how to do that. And then what makes it more compounded is when we have another person involved in the decision making. Now we have two people that may have different competing values inside of them. So we have to look at, in these situations, just talking about values, you have to, one way to look at it is, what is my deepest want? So I have to decide what my deepest want is. We always have deeper wants, maybe, and conflicting wants. And it's very seldom that these wants inside of us are absolutely equal. So, even a simple thing is wanting to be healthier, but also wanting to enjoy all the foods I like, but maybe if I enjoy all the foods I like, I won't be as healthy. So we have to look at that. Like, what's my want? What's my deepest want? What's my conflicting want? And so it's important to think like that. Um, I've done talks on how to come forward from your deepest want and move and not and get unstuck. But for this, I'm just talking about to be aware of these different wants in us and making a decision about how, what's my deepest want? What's the thing that's right now in my life, right now, most important to me? This client I'm talking about found that her deepest want, even as important as money is, as important as family is, her deepest want for now is to keep doing what she's doing and just to continue to get better at it. That's and when you're looking at, and I'll get to the couple stuff in a minute, but when you're looking at your own personal stuff, another thing I have people do to try to get in touch with what is my deepest want is you want to start tuning into your body because again, pros and cons lists are great. You get like a left brain analytical, logical a list of what's good about doing this, what's bad about doing that, or what's good about doing this thing, and what's good about doing the other thing. And so those pros and cons lists are really good, but that I think is good as a beginning point, gathering information. But ultimately, with tough decisions, I think it's important to focus on what you're feeling in your heart and your gut. So one of the things that I have people do is gather information, maybe even make the pro and con list. But once they've done that, they go, okay, I've done all that. I've thought about it. Now, how would I feel if I did this thing over here? What's my energy? Imagine me doing that thing. And you want to track it. Like, okay, here's how I feel. Now I think about doing that thing. How do I feel? Oh, I get a shot of aliveness. That's interesting. Okay, stop that, clear the palette. Let's try it again. Let's now imagine what it's like doing this other thing. Hmm, seems nice, but I'm not very excited about it. So if that's the situation, maybe you need to look at, wow, something in my body's telling me that I'm passionate about doing the first thing and not the second thing. This thing, not that thing. And so I find that oftentimes our intuition is lodged in our body and where our energy is going. And so a lot of times life is about trusting that intuition, that energy. So I recommend doing that when you're trying to decide what you truly want. Pros and con list, taking a look at your values, your your deeper values, maybe there's some conflicting values, but then also kind of just imagining doing this versus doing that and how it feels in your body. Where am I more alive? Where am I more excited? I'll get to the couple stuff in a minute. I just want to give an example of me when we had a child a long time ago. My kids are 31 and just about 28. But my wife wanted a second child, and she said because of wanting the kids 3 years apart when my daughter was 2 years old, she goes, "You got 3 months to try to make up your mind. I want to start trying." And we weren't younger parents; we were already like late 30s. So I said, "Oh, I'll give myself 3 months," and I did that whole pro and con list. What would it be like? What would it? What would be the advantages to just having one child? And what would be the advantages of having two children? And what if it was another girl because we had a girl? And what if it was a girl and a boy? And I just went through all these permutations of what it might be. Then 3 months later, I wake up before my wife and I go, "Wow, it's been 3 months." And I said, I gathered all my information. I imagined one scenario. I imagined the other scenario. It's time to make a decision. And I'm going to just listen to my body. Got to trust it. So I imagined what it was like having my one precious child, who's still precious to this day. And I just, when having one child, not going for the second, if my energy was here, there was a slight dip in energy, just a slight dip. It wasn't much, but it was slight. And then I said, okay, take a glass of water. Let me try this again, imagining the other scenario. And I said, second child, imagine having a second child. I got alive, got excited. There was something about it. Ooh, it was, like the difference was not big. It's like, first, so my wife wakes up and I go, good morning. When you ovulating? She said, why? I said, well, it's time to get started. And she says, wait a second, you said you were terrified about having a second child. I said, I am. Let's go for it. Now I was trusting the energy. Of course, I still have the feelings. Things can go wrong. There's all other kinds of stuff. I felt like if I have another daughter, I feel like I'm some neurotic way betraying my other daughter and I'm dividing my attention. Anyway, I had a second daughter and it all worked out great. But it was a way to make decisions. Now you take a second person and you get that second person involved in this. All right. And that person hopefully is doing similar things. That's what I would recommend. Pro and con list, what are my values, what are my deepest wants, maybe there are some conflicting wants, what's my sense. And then, like I say, if you're really still stuck like I was, you use your body. You imagine one scenario, you imagine the other. And then you come up with, this is my decision. Now you have another person who does the same thing. If they come up with a similar decision about this thing, you have no problem. If you come up with a different decision, first you want to listen. And I've said this in other talks, that you want to understand that there's a reason why the person is feeling that way, and rather than, of course, it can raise your anxiety when you say, "Oh, I've made a decision," and the other person goes, "I don't think so." And it's easy when you raise your anxiety to stop listening because you want things. You finally made a decision. You want to be calm, and this person's in your way of making that decision. It's a detour, like I've said. But people in relationships, there are always detours. Not always, often detours. If another person has a whole different set of wants and conflicting priorities and all that. So you need to listen. You got to still communicate, seek to understand what is important about that. And then the other person does the same with you. Sometimes just doing that, one person could say, I choose to yield to you. I choose it. I could see where you're coming from. Sometimes you're still stuck. In that case, you have a conversation and both people have to commit to be honest about it. And one of the things that I have couples do is I say, okay, you want, just to use the example, you want to move, I want to stay. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is you want to move, but it's not like huge you want to move. And 10 is you really, really, really want to move. What number would you give? And your partner says 9.5. And you go, well, I want to stay. What's 1 being I kind of want to stay, and 10 is I really, really, really want to stay. What number would I give me? Obviously, if I have a 9.5, I have a problem. But let's say my number is 8. It's a pretty high number. I might choose to yield to my partner who's a 9.5. Now, there's a big difference between choosing to yield and giving in. Giving in means I didn't choose it, I just gave in. That can lead to resentment. We don't want that. You need to choose, even if you choose to go with your partner's way. And you want to make a commitment when you choose that later on, if you move and you go, see, oh my God, not happy here, don't have the same friends, you got to own it. Okay, I chose to yield. That's something that we'll ultimately have to do from time to time as couples, and not make ourselves wrong for choosing to yield, and definitely not making our partner wrong because we gave in to them. Shouldn't have said that. We didn't give in. I don't like the term giving in, because we compromised and went with what they wanted. We chose to yield. Giving in is a sense of I didn't choose. So we always want to, when we're making these tough decisions, choose. And part of being mature is to realize that oftentimes we have to choose to yield. It's just how it is. We accept that in life. We accept that's part of being in a committed relationship. We're not clones of each other. We want different things. And we need to be adult enough to handle, what we lose by choosing to yield. And then the person who gets what they want can be very grateful and thankful for the other person, but to not necessarily feel guilty because they did, because they got their way. It's just two adults choosing. So that's what I wanted to say about this whole thing about decision making and some strategies to look at inside of yourself, using your body and all that, and then maybe that assigning that number from 1 to 10, it kind of gets you kind of in touch. It's simple. These are all simple things, but they can be ways to make decisions, and most importantly, choose. Choose to stay firm and choose to yield. Don't be, reactively stubborn or give in. You got to come from our adult parts. Thanks for listening. This is Todd Krieger, making the world safe for love.